Hello students, I am Dr. L.K. Das, Assistant Professor of Sociology at the Department of HSS, IIT Roorkee. Welcome to another lecture of the NPTEL course, Power and Politics in Contemporary India, a Sociological View. In today's lecture, we will discuss a case study which will be related to the discussion that we had in the previous class about manufacturing consent, about the role of media, and particularly the role of news media. In this, we will discuss specifically how human-elephant conflicts are reported in newspapers. And these newspapers are at three levels. At the first level, you have the local newspaper, regional news. Second level is regional newspaper. Third level, we have the international newspapers or news media and how they report it. And in this lecture, we will be primarily looking at Man Barua's work on media and manufacturing of ideas regarding human-elephant conflict in the Indian context. Man Barua argues that before understanding how a news media or how news media reports some kind of news about human-elephant conflicts, what is the context of a conflict is being reported. A context could be habitat loss, fragmentation, as well as agricultural expansion. And as a matter of fact, India records highest number of human-elephant fatalities. There could be ecological drivers, there could be a governance failure, there could be something else. But it is important for us to understand human-elephant conflicts because elephants, particularly in the case of Asia and India, are highly emotional beings. Highly emotional beings mean that they are not only highly revered, they are also religious symbols. They are symbols of prosperity, they are symbols of knowledge, they are symbols of strength, they are symbols of many things for that matter. And as a matter of fact, if you look at Mahabharata, if you look at Ramayana, there is no horse power that is mentioned. Rather, it is elephant power. Like Bhim had the power of 1,000 elephants. Duryodhan had the power of a few thousand elephants. So that was not horsepower. So that is also elephants in the Indian context historically has also been associated with physical strength as well as mental stability. In order to do this, what Man Barua did is that he looked at the what he calls the proximate and ultimate causal references to them, and he got 102 relevant articles across media scales, regional, national and international. Then he categorized them into two, proximate and ultimate, and he also looks at how the media is representing certain ideas. In terms of proximate causes, so these are some of the causes that he notices. One is deforestation, corridor loss, encroachment, agricultural expansion, so on and so forth. So, proximate causes in a way looks at ecological understanding in a very selective way. It looks at what are the immediate reasons. One reason is that because of deforestation, elephants are losing their livelihoods and their places of dwelling. That is the reason why they are coming in contact with humans. And because they are coming in contact with humans, that is the reason why some more and more conflicts are arising. Corridor loss is again the same thing, because corridor means there are two forests, F1 and F2, and earlier this F1 and F2 there were one forest. But now that you have human settlement in between and they have got agriculture farmlands, and elephants have to move from point A to point B, so they have to come in contact with humans. So what the governments do? They create these corridors or protected areas through which elephants can cover. But it is impossible to say that elephants should not move out of these corridors and humans should not be moving into these corridors on a day-to-day basis. And when it happens, there are conflicts. So again about encroachment. So here you can say that uh, this could be a portion of encroachment on the forest land. And this is cases of legality, this is cases of governance. Because what is legal for government could be illegal for someone else. What is illegal for the government could be legal for someone else. So we have to look at it, how it is being done, and what are the significant aspects through which it is being done. Now the ultimate causes, on the other hand, for example, is about how the different kind of media looks at these issues. According to the Barua, regional media, which is closest to the case that has happened, usually blames governance failures and weak institutions. National media highlights large development projects and its impacts, and international media emphasizes population growth as key factor. Also because international media has to speak to its own audience, which is located in the global west or global north, in which they have an image of Asia, they have an image of India, and India which is teeming of the human population. It is also about an echo chamber of developmental discourses, because who are the people? India, the population is so high that there is invariably situations in which humans and wildlife, humans and elephants are going to be in conflict with each other. And this also reactivates the idea of Orientalism, that we the South Asians, we Indians are not able to keep our animals at a safe distance. So most often than not, the international media, the national media give their emphasis, give their sympathy to the animal, because elephant is important, not the people who are there. Whereas for the regional media, who are closest to the case in hand, they usually report about governance failures, that because some or the other kind of institutions were not able to check the animals, how they are moving. That is the reason why something is happening. So that is the reason why the framing is done distinctly by these three different kind of regional, national and international media sources. So and they use certain kind of frames. They use certain kind of frames in order to report what is need or what needs to be done or what has happened. One way that particularly the local regional media does is by reporting or highlighting fatalities, fear and property damage. And many times villagers are reported as victims needing urgent support. This is where government is challenged and its governance is challenged. And government delays are frequently criticized by the local media. So here there is no scientist. Here it's what has happened, whom to blame, that is how it works. In the demonization frame, this is where the national media comes. So the elephants are depicted as violent or destructive animals. So this is also done by the different lenses, by different kinds of media at the three different levels. So the frame appears mainly in international sensational reporting. It's about this elephant who has come and destroyed this family or killed this man. Other side is also about the binaries, about the men. They see how they have come together and killed this innocent animal. So, these are the binaries that are being created in order to create a certain sense of urgency, a certain sense of what is happening there for an international audience. And this international audience is now interested in looking at what is being done. While the national media reports the NGOs and expert initiatives, international media would like to see what are the novel solutions that are propagated. Are these novel solutions related to creation of boundary walls between human settlement and animal settlement, or it is about creation of moats or ditches so that humans and animals do not belong to each other, or creation of boundaries and have different other type of ways through which humans and animals or elephants can be kept away from each other. So they want to see how it has been done at a practical level as an immediate action. The action taken reports are significant here. The other aspect of looking at it is the coexistence frame, in which elephants are portrayed as culturally significant beings. So, regional media emphasizes tradition and tolerance, harmony presented as historically grounded, responsibility shifts towards community adaptation, so on and so forth. But many times, what coexistence frame does is that it romanticizes the existing conditions and does not look at the different kind of economic burdens that could be there on the local people. If there is a tradition of tolerance, what kind of tolerance are we talking about and whose tolerance are we talking about? Do you think somebody, so for example, this is a field, okay? In this field of, let us say, 10 acres, one person has created 4 equal divisions. In one division, he has grown broccoli. In the other one, he is growing tomatoes. In the third one, he is growing the something else, and in the fourth one, he is growing something else. All 4 of them require substantial investment. Let us say he has invested 10 lakh rupees, and there is another one who has again 2 acres of land, and in these 2 acres of land they have different parcels, and in these parcels they are growing 8 different kinds of paddy rice, all of them native variety, and they have, for this they have spent 10,000 rupees, and the worker who are working in this one are from the family. Here there is nobody from the family, rather everybody who is working here are being paid on a everyday basis. And an elephant comes, destroys everything. An elephant comes and destroys everything. The loss here is that of 10 lakhs, the loss here is of 10,000, or a little less than that, or a little more than that. So what we see here is that economic burdens could be different for different groups and different individuals. So coexistence frame, according to Barua's article, needs to be taken into consideration with a pinch of salt, because only when we look at something from a highly contextualized perspective, we get to know the kind of framing that is being done and who is creating these frames and how significant these frames are in creating a discourse, in creating a narrative about something. The other aspect is that of the animal rights frame, in which animals are depicted as victims, and many NGOs are actively working there. And Indian media is highly selective in adopting this perspective, because what it does is that it provides moral outrage and sentimental imagery. So we need to be very specific in looking at this frame as to whom the animal right activists are speaking about and how the local people are locating these animal rights advocates and what are they talking about. So media actors and politicians are also part of this entire process, because this is also about visual politics. And this visual politics is about what kind of imagery are we talking about? Are we talking about development driven conflict, or are we talking about governance and immediacy? If we are talking so, then what is the language we are talking? What are the narratives we want to frame, and what are the narratives we would like to be framed? So, these framings would help in conservation and decision making environments. So, in essence, media, the way it represents something, is very crucial in the way narratives are created, narratives are constructed, and media, politics, and general population, how they how they sustain certain kind of representation. Who is speaking to whom? How it is being spoken about, and what are the interests that are being served? And if certain kind of interventions are being made, are these interventions oversimplified or are they evidence based? So in effect, how you can frame a question like this: how do NGOs and governments influence media framing, and how do demonization and coexistence frames shape public sympathy? There are a few references, there are a lot more. You can read this article of Man Barua. It's a very interesting article, as well as it's a highly cited article. So read it. It will be interesting for you. Thank you.